Joined now by PC head hockey coach Nate Leaman. Nate, thanks so much for joining us. And Father Shanley, the only president you've known in your time at Providence College, is ending his tenure at the end of the month. What can you say about your relationship with him over the last several years?
Well, I mean, first of all, just the fact that I have a relationship with the president of the college speaks volume. This is the fourth college that I've been fortunate enough to work at, but it's the first one I've had a relationship with the president as far as going to lunch with Father Shanley once a month, him attending games, him coming in the locker room after the games to shake hands, him traveling with us. It's just been such a pleasure to be around someone that's such a good leader and such a good mentor and that cares about the student athlete, but he also cares about all the students across campus. And it's really it's sad in so many ways to know he may not be there with us a lot next year, but that's what happens. But you look back and you're just so blessed to have someone like him, a care about the program, but be such a good mentor to both me and the players. I mean, I really enjoyed the time I spent with him. I've learned so much from him, and I hope that when you look back on things, you always see the people that really made an impact on you on your life, and he'll always be one of those people for me.
He said the most memorable moment he had at Providence was when you won the championship in 2015. What was it like having him as a cheerleader and as a confidant and all those things while you're winning a championship, but that moment on the ice afterwards and being able to celebrate it with him as well?
I'm just so happy that he was on the ice. I'm happy that he got to enjoy it because you don't win a national championship just because of a coach or just because of a certain player on the ice. When you're in college athletics, you realize it takes such a big team, and it starts at the top with your college president. If your college president cares about athletics or student athletes, you have a chance to be really good at them. And for me, Bob Driscoll and Father Shanley and Chris Riley, who's the chairman of the Board of Trustees, if those people weren't involved at Providence College wouldn't have a chance to win and have the special moments that they've had. So the fact that he was on the ice, for me, just kind of, I was just so happy he got to experience that after the game and be in all the pictures with the trophy and with the team, because he was just as much part of the team as I was as a coach.
And having a school president that cares about athletics, obviously a lot of schools that's the case, some schools that's not the case, but having him be a champion for PC athletics and the upgrades to facilities and so forth, how critical was that? Because in your time at Providence, you've seen the growth of PC athletics tremendously, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I really think it's helped the growth of the school, along with the growth of the business school, along with the new humanities building. Um, you know, uh, there's a lot of bright spots about Providence College, but as you mentioned, athletics is one of them. And when your basketball team makes five straight NCAA tournaments, when your hockey team makes six NCAA tournaments, people start to see that this is a successful place, and this is where successful people go to school, and people like to be around, so to speak, winners. They like to be around successful people. So I think that was a big part of, hopefully raising the profile of the school. And again, it was the vision of Father Shanley. And it wasn't only athletics, it was a lot about the business school. It was a lot about the humanities building. It was a lot about transforming the campus. And it's really fun when a lot of alumni come back now and they're just blown away by how beautiful the campus is now and how much different it is.
So you're mentioning the campus. I want to pivot to getting back to some sense of normalcy. No one knows when that'll be. Providence did release a plan of getting back to school this fall. There's a lot of moving parts, having talked to Bob Driscoll too today. Where do you stand? Now, you're a winter sport, but you guys really get going in the fall. Where do things stand right now with your program and just as the head coach of a team at a university with a lot of kids?
Yeah, it's just, sometimes it feels like you're taking it day to day, and sometimes it feels like you're taking it to week. I mean, the way I wake up every morning is just plan on the facts that I know today and go forward. And We communicate that with the guys all the time, with our players, with our assistant coaches. But we're planning, we're planning on a full schedule. We're planning, to play a full season and compete for a national
Mhm.
championship, and that's what we're being told right now. I know there's still, a lot of hoops to jump through, and every day it seems like things change. But we're pretty fortunate that we have college football back on campuses right now, kind of working through some of the kinks. And I think, I think what's going on at maybe at Clemson and LSU, and even in the NHL with them coming back in the summer, that is going to pave a lot of the way for us in college hockey, because
Mhm.
we're going to see what they go through. We're going to see how they handle it. We're going to see what's doable, if it is doable. But so just trying to follow their lead, see what they're going through, but also plan to charge ahead.
Right. And when you go back to last March, you guys are getting ready for the Hockey East tournament. Put yourself back in March, and what a bummer that was to end your season prematurely, and now where we are now. At the time, probably not imagining this would be a several-month ordeal.
Yeah, it's been. It seems like eons ago that we were playing and that we were together. Our teams are doing a lot of Zoom calls, so that it's so feels so good to see the guys, But it does seem like forever ago, and I've made it through homeschool with my kids. That
Right.
was a big accomplishment. But we just can't wait to see each other again, and can't wait to get after it, because I think the way the season ended really left a bitter taste in the mouth of everyone.
How difficult is it with any guys who are coming from Canada or elsewhere in terms of just travel and so forth?
Well, we've been working through that, even with coaching the World Junior team
Hmm.
this summer and having a summer showcase. We're working through on how we get our dual citizens across from Canada into the U.S. And it's something that we've been talking about a lot. And fortunately for us, we're not the only ones in this situation where we have Finnish players or Swedish players. Our school has a lot of international students,
Hmm.
as well as all these schools have a lot of international students. And I think that all the schools are going to be going through the same thing about getting these students back to their campus. So, it's another one of those things that you're working through. But yeah, I almost feel like, and what I discussed with Bob Driscoll last week was just that, you know, there's going to be a solution, because all the schools are in the exact same scenario where their international students want to get back or need to get back. Um, so I think the government's going to provide a solution to these students coming back, and making sure they're probably going to have to quarantine for 14 days. But
Yeah.
if that's the case, that's the case. We want to make sure everyone's healthy first.
Do you feel like sometimes you're part travel agent, part operations, part all of those things, and that maybe the fifth or sixth thing is a hockey coach at this point?
That's college athletics in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're working through a lot of things. Not a lot of it is X's and O's sometimes, but you're juggling. You're trying to do it all, and above all, you're just trying to make sure everyone's healthy. And we did have one player and his whole family, uh, you know, um, got COVID, and they worked through it. And fortunately, none of the family had to go to the hospital. But then, the nice thing for the family is that the boys in the family ended up doing all the grocery shopping for everyone on their whole street, because they had the virus, they had the antibodies, uh,
Wow.
and so they ended up turning it as an opportunity. And that's what and I'm sure you've gone through it too. I mean, this COVID stuff has presented some great opportunities,
Mm,
whether spending more time with your kids, or whether it's learning how to Zoom, which I didn't know completely
right.
how to do. And or for this young man, it was providing a service for everyone on the street.
So he's all clean bill of health now. One of your Providence players, or one of the kids on the junior team?
No, one of our Providence players, and yeah, it was way back. It was probably about a month into a month after we left campus, and so I think for a good 6 weeks there, he was because him and his family had the antibodies.
Hmm.
They were doing a lot of they donated some blood, I know that, but they were doing a lot of the chores for everyone on their street, to go out to the stores and things like that. So.
And how excited are you to coach, represent Team USA again?
Well, it's a lifelong dream. It really is. I mean, anytime you can represent your country, you feel extremely honored and proud. And and so it's a big challenge. This tournament is basically like the NCAA basketball tournament to Canada, and
Hmm.
and so it's viewed by millions and millions of people across the world. So it's a big challenge. There's high expectations on the U.S. with the growth of hockey in the U.S., but it's a challenge that you really want to look forward to and you really want to take on. So I kind of can't wait to get started with that because I'm itching to get back on the
Hmm.
ice. But I just can't wait. I'm just really honored.
When will you guys get going on that?
July 24th, camp starts. July 24th to August 1st in Plymouth, Michigan is the camp. And we're, the top, I think right now there's 43 of the top American
Hmm.
born players will be at the camp.
Wow. And just a couple more. Have you talked to any of your former players that are in the NHL about their scenario? You mentioned college football sort of being a guinea pig, but what the NHL is doing with the two-city setup right now, sort of individual workouts. I know the Bruins have camp at the beginning of July. What are you seeing with the NHL's model in terms of a sport like hockey, like all sports, you guys are so close together, and
Yeah.
sort of how they're managing it?
Well, I think it's I think they're walking through it. With Tampa Bay having so many people,
Hmm.
have COVID or test positive for COVID. It's just been curious to watch them walk through it as well as the Bruins. I think, for them as coaches, they're almost coaching like college coaches now under the old rules where you can only work with, we
Right.
used to only be able to work with four guys at a time on the ice. So they're in, I think, groups of five or six. I know how hard it is to accomplish things like that. It's really next to impossible except for conditioning and getting them back, like a feel for the puck and the edges. But um, you're just watching them and kind of seeing how they're working through it. It's going to be really interesting for the teams, that come back and have a playoff series right away. And I think the other thing, those exhibition games, when they start, they're going to be wars because,
Right.
to have two exhibition games and then jump into playoffs, they have to go kind of from, you know, from their D game right to their A
Hmm.
game right away or get knocked out. And so it's going to be curious. I'm curious to follow it. I'm curious to watch, but it's also been interesting to see that, to see the pro coaches kind of coaching like college coaches.
Yeah, go into your world a little bit. All right,
Yeah.
I want to ask you. You mentioned homeschooling. What was your favorite thing and your least favorite thing? Because I did a lot of that at my house too.
Well, the favorite thing is spending time with the kids, to be honest with you. And your favorite thing is really. So my wife had our kindergartner, who is Nolan. I had our second grader, who is
Mm,
Bryce, and our fourth grader was basically on his own. And he did an unbelievable job. But my favorite thing was probably working on the reading. With
yeah,
my second grader. A lot of RAS kids, a lot of ELC, a lot of. He had a big honeybee project that he knocked it out of the
nice.
park on. But just spending time with them. The hard part is the patience because
Mm,
I don't know how you thought, but as time wore on, it got harder and harder to motivate them.
yeah.
They knew how to fight you to get out of work. So we used a phrase with our guys I used a phrase with Bryce is that we got to eat our frog. We got to do our hardest thing first thing in the morning. We're going to eat our frog first thing and do the hardest thing first to kind of get it out of the way and then go from there so they could get out of the house by,
Yeah.
after lunch.
Yeah,
So,
if we could bang everything out in the morning, that was a good day. But yeah, a lot of Raz kids I excel. I'll have to touch your wife because I was the kindergarten teacher, so there were some challenging things. But yeah, motivation. I did a lot of bribery, so I'm not a coach like you. The motivational factors, the push pull of,
yeah,
you don't want them to get upset, but
yeah.
that was a challenge, but we're through it. Hopefully, everyone's back to school in the fall, and that includes PC and all your players. All right, Nate. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ani.
Thank you.